Thank you. Thank you. President Hays, faculty, staff, honored guests, families, and friends, good morning and congratulations to the graduating class of 2017. I am truly honored to receive this honorary doctorate. Graduation marks an important milestone in life. It is the conclusion of one chapter as a new one commences. In many respects, I am a recent graduate myself. I served as a senior policy advisor in the Obama White House up until the final days of the administration. And like many of my fellow graduates, I am now in a transition period. Transitions can be exciting, full of hope and optimism about what the future holds, but they can also be quite stressful. To venture into the unknown and have uncertainty about what comes next can be scary. But transitions are a very regular part of life. I have opted to view them as cumulative exams of sorts. Opportunities to reflect on the previous lessons that life has taught me, not simply so that I don't have to repeat these previous lessons or relive certain tests, but more so that I can put those learnings into practice and ascend to the next level. In preparing my speech for today, I took a moment to reflect on and revisit the cumulative exam that I took when I left the White House the first time in 2014. At that time, I was wrapping up my 2-year science policy fellowship, and I was grappling with the what next question. What had I learned by that point in my life? Grad school had introduced me to the imposter syndrome, where I struggled to believe that I could handle the rigors of a PhD program, and perhaps I didn't deserve to be at a place like Harvard. But I eventually learned that in order to overcome that mentality, I had to stop comparing myself to other people. The only metric for success by which I should measure myself against is my own personal progress. Where am I today versus where I was a month or a year ago? I also learned that in spite of my highly independent nature, no one is an island. The support of family and friends and good mentors is especially important. So I want to take a moment to thank my awesome parents who are watching at home. Hi, Mom and Dad. And I also want to thank my wonderful thesis advisor, Dr. Pat DeMore, who is an alum of Regis and is the very reason I'm here with you all today. Yes, you can clap for her. So in addition to these lessons about combating self-doubt and the importance of a great support system, I also knew how very important it was to not be afraid to fail. These were a few of the lessons that I was taking into consideration as I was deciding what next beyond my 2-year fellowship. I received an offer from a safe job, but I decided that I would also focus on this great momentum that I had established in pursuit of what I was referring to at that time as my science communications dream. My journey and personal trials as a woman and as a person of color in science have produced this strong desire to make a difference. I wanted to do something that combined all of my previous experiences as a scientist, an educator, and even my work in the entertainment industry with my passion for inspiring children. What if entertainment media could be this strategic tool to not only help improve public perception of science, but also help us address these very, very persistent challenges with promoting diversity in science and technology careers? A few months prior, the idea of using media as a tool for STEM inclusion struck me like a bolt of lightning. My heart raced with excitement. I had this indescribable sense that I had to find a way to do this work, no matter what. So, in the final week of my fellowship, I decided to step out on faith, and I turned down that safe job so that I could pursue my dream project full-time. The moment I hit send on that email to reject the job, I had a peace that truly surpassed all understanding. And it actually greatly contradicted the circumstance that I was now creating for myself and willingly going into. I estimated that I had about 6 months of money that I could live on. Well, I ended up having to stretch out 6 months to almost a year. That time period was one of the most difficult years of my life. I lost track of all the no's I received, and sure, I got discouraged at times, but I knew in my heart that I just needed one yes. Life handed me some staggering blows, but each time I managed to pick myself up and keep going. To use the words of Maya Angelou, we may encounter many defeats, but we must not be defeated. I fully believed that everything in my life had led me to do that work, and I had never been more sure of anything. This great conviction not only enabled me to endure scrutiny and hardship, but it also granted me this great sense of fulfillment because I knew that I was pursuing my dream. And it didn't matter how it turned out because I would never have to look back and wonder, what if? I was in debt and I was flat broke, but it was one of the most happiest periods of my adult life. It was also the healthiest I had ever been. I was getting rest. I was rediscovering the joys of leisure reading. I was working out. Actually, one of my goals for this year is to get back the body I had in the summer of 2015. Ultimately, the stars did align, and I had an opportunity to return to the White House to design and run what became known as the Image of STEM project. And as you heard in my citation, this project is listed in the top 100 science and tech accomplishments of the Obama administration, and this is something that I am incredibly proud of. Thank you. Doing this work in the fourth quarter Obama White House was an incredible experience, and it far exceeded anything I could have ever imagined or hoped it would be. And I can wholeheartedly tell you all here today that everything that I had to suffer through was more than worth it. And in many respects, it was a necessary part of my personal growth and preparation to do this work in the first place. So here I am again, at another transition point. So what are the new lessons that life has taught me that I will carry forward as I go on to the next level? First, don't leave any what-ifs on the table. If you are going to regret anything in life, let it be the things that you did and not the things that you didn't do. Second, trust your instincts, your gut, your spirit of discernment, and don't ignore your heart. I've also learned that if you endeavor to have a purpose-driven life, success will come to you. You don't have to aim for it. There's a great quote by Viktor Frankl that says, "For success, like happiness, cannot be pursued. It must ensue, and it only does so as the unintended side effect of one's personal dedication to a cause greater than oneself." I also learned that you shouldn't let your circumstances dictate your outlook on life. You have to actively seek peace and joy. Attitude is everything, and it is one of the few things in this world that you have absolute control over. So here's what I will leave you with. As you navigate this transition, but any of these other transitions that you will inevitably face throughout the course of your life, I challenge you to periodically take a moment and reflect on the lessons that life has taught you so far. And I also challenge you to ask yourself the following questions. Who am I? Who am I? What do I believe about myself? What makes my heart sing? What am I most afraid of? What or who am I willing to suffer for? And what will be my contribution to this world? Congratulations again, and Godspeed, class of 2017.